Hello everyone, today is 29th of April, now it's 1 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms, and there is quite a number of important developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me make a little announcement, which is that from now on I will have 2 live streams a week, at least I will try, because I resolved issue with the internet finally, and hopefully it will work out. So I will still have a traditional Sunday live stream. There was an interesting conversation yesterday, for example, during the live stream among members of our community, and I will add one more live stream on Wednesdays. So hopefully it will help me to be better engaged in with the community, and same time members of our community will have additional opportunity to have a conversation in real time among each other, and I mean, you can ask question during the live stream, and I'm always engaged, and whenever I see a question I'm trying to answer. Although, by the way, when it comes to questions, if you want to make sure that I will definitely see your question, you can send it through PayPal or Boosty. Or if you are a member of our Patreon community, you can send question through Patreon, and I will definitely answer to those questions during the live streams. So on Wednesdays and Sundays, 9 o'clock. That's a traditional time, 9 o'clock in the evening, Moscow time. So okay, that's been said. Let's go through some news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield, and the main hotspot is of course still main activity still is taking place in Avdiivka direction, of course, and we have additional confirmation of the information about Russian progress in direction of Novobakhmutovka, Solovyovo, Ocheretino, Novokalinovo, and Keramik. Also more sources are reporting about Russian progress towards Arkhangelsk, and by the way, today several channels reported that Russian forces not just established control over the Ocheretino, but also conducted further offensive operations and reached Novo-Alexandrovka, this settlement here, which is on the northern western side from Ocheretino. And as you can see, if you take a look at the map, Russian armed forces clearly are developing huge bridgehead in Avdiivka direction, and if I did not knew that Kiev regime forces are unable to conduct any more or less well-organized well-organized offensive or counteroffensive operations, I will start worrying about these developments, because Russian forces in Avdiivka direction are advancing too fast, too rapidly. But because I'm quite sure, and the Russian military intelligence, I believe, also has, of course, much more information that we will ever have from open sources, because Russian side is sure that Kiev regime is unable to conduct any counteroffensive operations to cut off this bridgehead from main line of contact. Therefore, probably there is no need to be wary too much, but I mean, if you take a look at the map, you can clearly see this huge bridgehead, by the way, that being created by Russian side in Russian military just in last couple of weeks, and progress is continuing. As I just mentioned, Russian forces are already on outskirts of Novo-Alexandrovka, this settlement here. So this bridgehead will get even bigger in upcoming days. This is of course a major development on the line of contact. Same time, by the way, additional confirmation of the information that Russian armed forces established control over the settlement of where is that settlement, man? Kislyovka, that's it, by the way. This is the Kislyovka settlement, which is under full Russian control, according to many sources. And also, by the way, Russian armed forces conducted successful operation on the southern side of Donetsk sector, and according to many channels, Nitailovo, this settlement is under full Russian control. Yesterday during the live stream, when I was monitoring map, I noticed icons, this icon for example, about Russian offensive in Nitailovo direction, and a few minutes ago I watched military summary update, morning's update, and he also confirmed information about Russian progress in direction of Nitailovo. And according to Dima, host of military summary, according to his information, Kiev regime forces left Nitailovo, which means that Russian armed forces will conduct now clearing operation, the mining operation, and I guess tomorrow, maybe day after, Russian Defense Ministry probably will confirm information about Russian progress in this direction. Also, by the way, surprisingly, we are seeing some activization of Russian side in Orekhov bridgehead area, and Russian armed forces renew their local scale offensive operations towards Rabotina. For quite a while we did not hear anything about Zaporozhye sector, and well, some activity is taking place there. And when it comes to Kherson direction, Kiev regime forces once again activated toward these islands in delta of the Dnieper River and on the Dnieper River itself. And well, this usual daily routine will resume now when both sides are conducting operations for control over this numerous number of islands in the delta of the Dnieper River and in river on upstream of the river itself also. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Of course, Russian forces further increasing pressure on Kiev regime formations in South Donetsk sector. Also in Vremovsky salient area, Urozhaina Staromayorska, that's main direction of Russian strikes, ground operations, and also air strikes, artillery strikes. And Ugledar also, by the way, is under a heavy fire from Russian side. And on daily basis we are receiving videos about Russian strikes on points of concentration of Kiev regime forces in Ugledar. Well, that's been said, let's continue with some additional news. And RIA Novosti is reporting that early hours today, well, just now, by the way, breaking news on RIA Novosti's web page, and we have confirmation that Semyonovka settlement is under full Russian control. Information was confirmed by defense ministry, I believe. Yes, Defense Ministry confirmed that Semyonovka settlement in DPR under full Russian control now. Semyonovka is of course right next to Berdichi. Let me show you this settlement also, by the way. So this is Semyonovka, by the way, this settlement. I report about Semyonovka being under Russian control at least several days ago. But Russian Defense Ministry, being quite conservative, only now confirmed this information. Anyway, let's continue now. And well, as I was reporting, in Karachaevo-Cherkessia, by the way, which is northern Caucasus region of the Russian Federation, early hours or nighttime, there was a terrorist attack on Russian police checkpoint, and there was clashes between these terrorists and their law enforcement officers, and as a result of these clashes, 5 attackers were neutralized, and hunt is underway to make sure that all the perpetrators of this terrorist attack will be neutralized. Although unfortunately during this fight with the terrorists, 2 law enforcement officers, according to this report, were killed and several were wounded. Of course, investigation is underway, and we will learn some more about this attack. But I would not be surprised at all if investigation will find out that these terrorists also had some connection with the Ukrainian neo-Nazi formations or Ukrainian military intelligence service, or SBU, by the way, Ukraine's intelligence service. Let's see what additional information will be available. RIA Novosti's report that, Russian Defense Ministry also confirmed yesterday, by the way, about information that Russian armed forces established full control over the Novobakhmutovka, which is, of course, on the southern eastern side of Ocheretino. And no, I reported about Novobakhmutovka also a couple of days ago, that this settlement was under Russian control. And now it's not just Novobakhmutovka, but also Solovyovo, that is under Russian control on the southern side of Ocheretino. And Ocheretino itself is under full Russian control, and the Russian forces are conducting operations further westwards now from Ocheretino. So Kiev regime's defense lines are collapsing, and we clearly have some indicators that I mean, I don't want to make a call for too early, but there is clearly indicators that Kiev regime forces may be on the brink of on the edge of collapse. Maybe not all along the front line yet, but definitely in Avdiivka and Donetsk sectors of the front. That's for sure. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that press spokesman of Russian President Dmitry Peskov commented on the developments on line of contact, especially in Avdiivka direction, where Russian units are advancing quite rapidly. And Dmitry Peskov stated that, well, according to information that he has, Kiev regime forces are in panic. Kiev regime forces are in panic. In number of, at least in number of directions, and I can understand why is this, because after all, even Western media outlets are coming up with articles now that officers of the Kiev regime forces are no longer believing in their victory. So when officers don't really believe that they can achieve much, what you expect from ordinary soldiers, that majority of whom have been kidnapped, by the way, on the streets of Kiev-controlled territories of Ukraine and then forcefully mobilized and sent to the battlefield. So, of course, many thousands and thousands of Ukrainian soldiers are in panic, and probably they will use the first opportunity to lay down arms and surrender. RIA Novosti is reporting that according to Russian partisans that operating in Nikolaev region, as a result of Russian precise strikes on points of concentration of foreign mercenaries, English-speaking mercenaries, that took place in Nikolaev region. I reported about it yesterday, by the way. 14 foreign mercenaries have been killed during that strike, and 8 was wounded and taken to the hospital. And even though Russian partisans did not specify with RIA Novosti from which countries those English-speaking mercenaries were from, we all know that formerly Kiev regime's operations on the southern sectors in the Black Sea, in Nikolaev region, towards Kherson region or Crimea, all those operations, by the way, drone strikes, missile strikes that Kiev regime is conducting are planned and basically overseen by British military personnel and intelligence officers, and therefore I believe we would not be mistaken if we will say that most likely this killed 14 English-speaking mercenaries were British nationals or citizens of UK, let's say this way, and those wounded ones, also 8 wounded ones, also were citizens of UK. Let's see if in upcoming days British media will write anything about it. I don't know, maybe. Although, by the way, of course, they are disguised as mercenaries. In reality, they are intelligence and military officers of the UK, but are disguised for plausible deniability as mercenaries. Let's continue. And RBK News Agency is reporting that head of Ukraine's General Staff, Syrsky, confirmed Russian progress on several sectors of the front line, and indirectly confirmed because he stated that in several directions Kiev regime forces regrouped, which means they retreated, basically. So we don't really need confirmation from Sirski or any other so-called general in Kyiv regime forces, but you know, it's just additional proof that Russian forces achieving significant progress on the line of contact. And once again, by the way, if I had any doubts on capabilities of Kyiv regime forces, I will start worrying about this huge beachhead that Russian forces are developing on Avdiivka sector. But I mean, let's be real, Kyiv regime forces have no chance to conduct any counteroffensive towards that bridgehead or any pincer operation to cut off it from the main line of contact. Therefore, I guess this bridgehead that Russian forces are developing in Avdiivka direction will further increase, and more and more territories eventually will be liberated from Kyiv regime by Russian army in this direction, in Avdiivka sector, and every other sector, by the way. I said many times before that after this conflict will end, there will be no Ukrainian political map. It will be divided between its neighbors. RT's report that former Soviet Republic denies selling warplanes to United States. So Kazakhstan has dismissed report that it sold dozens of retired Soviet-era warplanes to outside buyers, including the US, to be potentially transferred to Kiev for use in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. On Sunday, the Kiev Post reported, Ukrainian media or propaganda outlet reported that Washington was their winning bidder for 81 of their 117 aircraft, buying them through offshore entities for combined $1.5 million. The report did not give a breakdown of how many planes of each type were acquired, but it said that the purchase included MiG-29 fighter jets, MiG-27 fighter bombers, and Su-24 bombers. Kazakhstan also offered MiG-31 interceptors in their auction. All of their aircraft were listed as being in unusable condition, according to the report, and the cost of them modernizing them were deemed economically impractical. The warplanes, which were built in 1970s and 80s, were retired under the Kazakh military's modernization program. Their average unit cost paid by the US was less than $19,000. In fact, the entire fleet of 81 jets cost only about as much as 10 IGM-114 Hellfire missiles, one of the air-to-surface munition commonly used by US drones and warplanes. US officials have not declared how the retired Kazakh planes will be used. The Kiev Post said speculation has grown that these aircraft types are all in service with Ukraine. It is likely they will eventually be transferred to Kiev. If that happens, the newspaper added Ukrainian forces will likely disassemble their aircraft for spare parts or use them as decoys at the airfields. However, Kazakh state defense contractor Kazaspes Export dismissed the report, saying that the auction was organized strictly according to the law on the premise that all their warplanes would be scrapped for metal. Foreign companies were not allowed to take part in the bidding, was stated by this Kazakh defense contractor. Well, interesting story. Of course, if eventually these planes will end up in Ukraine for spare parts or for whatever reason, that will definitely have some influence on relationships between Moscow and Astana. And by the way, you may agree with me, you may disagree with me, but I have no trust in current leadership of Kazakhstan. I think they are... this Tokayev, president of Kazakhstan, is definitely not a friendly politician towards Russia. I have no trust in this individual, his government. And I believe Russia and the other allies of Russia made a big mistake when this individual Tokayev was saved during the unrest in Kazakhstan, when CSTO deployed military force, by the way, to allow local government of Tokayev re-establish control over the several cities in Kazakhstan, and basically he was saved by Russia and CSTO. But as I said, but I don't want to say too much, but I definitely don't trust current leadership of Kazakhstan. I don't think they are acting as a strategic partners to Russia. Russian diplomats will say none of it, of course, because they are diplomats. Russian politicians will maintain, of course, friendly attitude towards the leadership of Kazakhstan, but I am an ordinary citizen. I can say whatever I want, and I don't trust those people, man. I don't trust leadership of Kazakhstan, and unfortunately, I think it is quite likely that these planes, in parts or at least spare parts, some parts of these planes eventually will end up in hands of Ukrainian terrorists, Kiev regime. It is what it is, man. I don't trust leadership of Kazakhstan, man. They are some Anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Kiev is conducting negotiations with Washington about agreement for next 10 years, according to which, well, US will provide Kiev regime with weapon supplies and munition, basically some sort of security guarantees that Washington will take on itself. Okay, Kiev already signed some security agreements with a bunch of other NATO member states, and what it changed. And what is interesting in this information is that does Zelensky or anybody in Kiev or in Washington, for that matter, really believes that Ukraine will be on the political map after 10 years or after 5 years? I definitely don't. I definitely don't believe that there will be Ukraine on the political map in 5 or 10 years. It's not happening, man. RT is reporting, at least Ukraine that we knew will no longer remain on the political map once this conflict will end, because it will be divided between the sides, and maybe Kiev and surrounding areas will stay as a landlocked quasi-state under the name of Ukraine. Who knows? That's a possibility, but why would Moscow agree on that? That's another big question. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Zelensky is demanding now from EU to fulfill obligations before Ukraine and about Ukraine's membership into EU. Once again, man, I don't know how anybody can take seriously this individual. EU has fulfilled every requirement that EU has set out for it and is ready to begin accession talks. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky stated in a video address on Sunday, demanding that the bloc now follow through. Okay, I mean, we all know that Ukraine is not going to become member of EU or member of NATO, but they can demand whatever they want. RIA Novosti's report that, Ukraine, by the way, stopped informed same time while Zelensky is demanding from EU Ukraine to become a member of the bloc. Same time, Ukraine is informing Council of Europe that some basic human rights are suspended basically in Ukraine. I translated this information to share with you in more detail. So Ukraine has revised their provisions of its declaration of the derogation from obligations under the European Convention on Human Rights and the International Covenant of the Civil and Political Rights during the martial law, according to document published on the website of Council of Europe. In connection with the introduction of the martial law in Ukraine, the constitutional rights and freedoms of the man and citizen provided for in Articles 30, 34, 38, 39, 41, 44, 53 of the Constitution of Ukraine may be temporarily limited for the period of martial law, this document says. Ukrainian authorities note that during the martial law they can apply measures such as forced alienation of forced confiscation basically of property for the needs of the state, curfew, special entry and exit regime in and out of Ukraine, carrying out inspections, ban on rallies and demonstrations, prohibition or restriction on the choice of the place of the stay or place of residence. Basically, citizens of Ukraine have no rights at all. They have no rights at all on anything. And this is official, by the way. And while being in such a state, Zelensky is still demanding from EU, Ukraine to become a member of this bloc. It is what it is, man. It's not even funny, but that's news that are circulating in the media anyway. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that head of EU's diplomacy, Josep Borrell, made once again reiterated himself, basically reiterated that his previous statements that Europeans will not die for Donbass, and EU will do as much as they can to make sure that Ukrainians will not die also. And well, as a statement, it may sound as something at least partially understandable, but in reality, we all know that this is lie, by the way. First of all, when he's talking about Europeans, what he even means, because I mean, formally, at least, Ukrainians are Europeans also, and we are Europeans also here, vast majority of us, and I mean, what is this? These guys are racist, by the way, isn't it? These people really are racist. They think they are some sort of different race, different than us, isn't it? Because what this means, man, Europeans will not die for Donbass. Europeans already are dying in Donbass and for Donbass on both sides of the conflict. And if he meant citizens of Europe, then he should say exactly that, citizens of Europe. Anyway, man, anyway, and when it comes this another part that EU will do as much as it can to make sure that Ukrainians will not die for Donbass also, then, well, it's too late, isn't it? In reality, EU did everything possible to basically sacrifice as many Ukrainians as possible for their geopolitical agenda, or geopolitical agenda of the Western ruling class. So, as I said many times before, by the way, at this point, it's really hard to take any statement from any Western so-called politician or representative of the elites seriously. I mean, anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Israel gives Hamas one chance to avoid the Rafah invasion. Israeli Foreign Minister Israel Katz has warned that an invasion of the city of Rafah, which is on the southern part of Gaza Strip, will go ahead unless Hamas agrees to release some of the Israeli hostages still held in the Gaza. Hamas is expected to comment on an Israeli truce proposal imminently, according to this Israeli side. For now, there was no reports in Russian media, at least, what response had Hamas, if there was any response at all. But we have a statement from President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, who is located in the West Bank, by the way. And, well, according to him, military operation in Rafah, Israeli military operation in Rafah will start in next few days. So despite calls from worldwide towards Netanyahu's government not to conduct military operation in Rafah, at least for now, it seems like Seems like this military operation will take place, and world is horrified by this because it's Rafah is basically a huge refugee camp at this point. 1.5 million people are concentrated in that area, and everybody is afraid. Maybe not everybody, but many people are concerned worldwide that if Israel will conduct military operation in direction of Rafah, casualties among civilians will be much greater than in the northern parts of Gaza Strip during the active phase of military operation in the northern part of Gaza Strip. And according to reports in media here in Russia, as a result of Israeli military operations, more than 34,000 civilians have been killed in Palestine, and 15,000, almost 15,000 kids, by the way, among those 34,000, which is it's tragedy. It's a tragedy and a shame of humanity, by the way. What is happening in Gaza Strip is a shame. It's gonna stay as a stain on humanity forever, because human society was unable to stop this genocide, stop this massacre of civilians. There was many statements made here and there, but unfortunately, world community was unable to stop this massacre of civilians. And unfortunately, even worse atrocities may happen if IDF will go ahead with this military operation in Rafah. I don't even know how can I comment on this situation. By the way, it's extremely depressing and horrifying that we are living in times when such horrendous crimes are taking place, and the world community, and we call ourselves, civilized people, humans, and we are unable to stop this. This is not a war, real war between the militaries and militaries. This is a extermination of the civilians. That's what it is. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that presidential candidate from Green Party, by the way, was arrested in US during the pro-Palestinian protests, Jill Stein. I don't know, maybe for this moment she was released, but it is really unfortunate, by the way, to see this level of deterioration of the US that once was really perceived as a leader of the free world. In 70s, 80s, probably many people worldwide really believed that US was leading free world, but look at it now, by the way. One presidential candidate is arrested for calling for peace, for God's sake. Another presidential candidate is under constant political prosecution. Trump, by the way, you might like him or not, but Biden's administration is definitely utilizing state institutions and using those state institutions to target Trump. It's just factual. So I don't know, man. Decline of US is just on the scale of unbelievable. That's what it is, really. RBK News Agency is reporting that Axios shared information, published information, that Trump had made up his mind about vice president, and according to Axios, Trump is will choose as his running mate governor of the North Dakota, Douglas Burgum. Well, maybe I'm not expert in U.S. internal politics. I don't know who this guy is, Douglas Burgum. He's a governor of North Dakota. Okay, that's all I know about him. But who knows? Maybe he is a decent human being. I don't know, man. But anyway, possibly this person, Douglas Bergman, will be running mate of the Trump during the presidential elections. If Trump will make it, by the way, to the presidential elections, because as I said, the Biden's administration is weaponizing state institutions to hunt him down. It's just, I mean, it is what it is. RBK News Agency is also reporting that, well, some civil war is taking place inside the Tory in UK, inside the conservatives there, and according to Financial Times, supporters of former prime ministers Boris Johnson and Liz Truss are uniting now to remove Sunak from the office, current prime minister of UK. I don't think any of those guys, Johnson or Truss, are any better than Sunak. They are much worse, I will argue, than Sunak. Sunak at least looks like a gentleman, by the way. I mean, let's be clear. He might be as stupid as Boris Johnson, by the way, or he may act in the same. He may make similar statements as Johnson does, but I don't know, man. For whatever reason, I think Sunak is a better individual than Boris Johnson. And when it comes to Liz Truss, she was, I mean, for a short time, Prime Minister of UK. And, well, British people were not happy with her, so probably for a reason. Let's see what will happen. Rumors about this internal confrontation among British conservatives are taking place for a while now, and some articles in the Western media even suggesting that Boris Johnson has ambitions to become a prime minister once again. Who knows? It might happen, by the way, because Johnson clearly is a puppet that actively being used by real rulers of the West. One should always keep in mind that it was Boris Johnson that was sent to Kiev to derail negotiations between Moscow and Kiev in 2022. So he may, you know, he proved himself to be useful for true rulers of the West, and they may put him in power once again. Who knows? Anyway, by the way, Interfax is reporting that Parliament in Georgia resumed work on a draft bill about foreign agents, and parliamentary committees are now discussing this bill, and simultaneously, for now, it is unknown when Georgian Parliament will vote for this bill in second reading, when this bill will be adopted in second reading. But protests are not stopping in Georgia. Protests of US-controlled or Western-controlled so-called opposition and their NGOs and media, so-called media. And I'm afraid it is still high risk that Washington will derail Georgia from current course on stability, and as I said, by the way, US has such a strong grip on Georgia that if they want to, unfortunately, they will most likely succeed with the destabilization of Georgia, then with regime change, and eventually Washington may use Georgia as a kind of second front against Russia and sacrifice interests of Georgian citizens themselves, for a geopolitical agenda of the collective West. It is what it is, man. Protests, as I said, are not stopping in capital of Georgia, in Tbilisi, and at any point things may go wild there. It all depends what Washington really plans. TASS news agency is reporting that Foreign Ministry of China stated that it's none of US business how China and Russia will cooperate between each other. Of course, Chinese Foreign Ministry was more diplomatic, but that's basically what they are saying, that rights of China to have a trade with Russia cannot be distracted, And this is, of course, a response on statements from head of State Department Blinken, from other high-ranking officials from US, when they are basically openly threatening China, Chinese businesses with the sanctions. It's always sanctions, by the way. That's all that Western diplomacy has now, if we even can call it diplomacy. It's sanctions. It's always threats, by the way. Never negotiations, real talks. No, they are threatening straight away, and I don't think this will change anytime soon, at least before BRICS will come up. BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, with cooperation with some other international organizations, African Union in Latin America. When these organizations together will come up with under leadership of BRICS, I guess, but under whatever pretext, once world will come up with alternative financial and banking system and alternative reserve currency, that's when Western ruling class will be forced, basically, to start negotiating, to start looking for diplomacy, because they will lose this tool that they have now. They will no longer be able to weaponize Western financial and banking system against everybody that they don't like, or Western currencies for that matter. But until BRICS shows and Shanghai Cooperation Organization and other groups, until this world, by the way, in general, will come up with these alternative financial and banking systems, Washington, London, Brussels, they're going to continue act as they are acting right now. They're going to threaten everybody. That's what they do, man. It is what it is. And well, I will end this update now. Quite long update still, but hopefully you will find it interesting, informative, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. Let me show you, dear friends, something. Thanks to you, dear friends. Thanks to you. Yesterday we managed to break through. Just look at this. Break through these artificial barriers that YouTube's algorithm is creating, and just look at this. Yesterday's update has, I mean, let's make it bigger. I mean, 27K views. Yesterday's update. So somehow, not somehow, thanks to you, dear friends, thanks to your comments and your likes, and because many of you are sharing links from my channel or my videos with your friends. Somehow, I mean, we managed to break through this YouTube's algorithm, by the way. Sometimes it happens. I mean, we may try every day, and usually we are failing to break through this algorithm, but sometimes we are successful, and when it happens, videos have like 20, 30, even 50,000 views. So thank you all. I want to thank you all, dear friends, for your attention and support. I will end this update now. And dear friends, if you think this channel is interesting and useful and deserves to exist, if you like my work, you can support with small donations through PayPal, Boosty, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. All the links under this video in the description box. And well, this is it. What else? As I said in the beginning, on Wednesdays I will add additional live stream to my programming on Wednesdays, and I will have 2 live streams, Wednesdays and Sundays. So yes, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.